First things first, in his first ever finals appearance, Chris Paul showed up. Can CP3 continue to carry the Suns all the way to a title? Hey, Giannis returned to the floor, but does that make up for the Bucks' big L last night? And Devin Booker riding into Game 1 in so much style. It almost seems like it's out of style, but they tell me it's in style, and I gotta believe them. You do you, Devin Booker. With that, we say good Wednesday morning, everyone. Welcome to a fantastic edition of First Things First. Jenna, Nick, Brandon, Wild. Brandon, what a fleet for Devin Booker. He got the tempo, he got the mood started last night.
It seems like every home game he's driving a new car, a new old school car. My type of guy. Yeah. I'm a 1970 Chevy guy, 383 stroker in a big block engine. Yeah. But, you know, this can work. This can work.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful piece of American machinery, Jenna.
Guys, it did work. It worked for the Suns, and let us start right there in Phoenix. Game 1 of the finals. Hey, Giannis did end up returning. The knee was good to go, and he did manage to put up 20 points and 17 boards. But that wasn't enough, because this night belonged to CP3. Took Chris Paul 16 seasons to get to his first finals. Took him no time at all to make a statement. He was sensational. Game-high 32 points, 9 assists. Guy had his fingerprints all over this game for himself, for his teammates. Afterwards, he pointed to one big reason his team came out winners. Take a listen.
One thing that we're going to be is prepared. You know, we're going to be prepared for every game. So, you know, we always talk about, you know, when preparation meets opportunity. So, you know, shoot around. Coach said, go hoop. Y'all know what to do.
I feel good. I don't feel pain. You know, I can run, I can jump, I can set screens, you know, I can rebound the ball, I can do stuff. So I'm good, I'm happy that I'm out there. You know, at the end of the day, I haven't watched the clip, but when the play happened, I thought I'm going to be out for a year, you know. So I'm just happy that two games later, I'm back.
We thought the same thing, Giannis. All right, Brandon, let me start with you. How should both of these teams feel after Game 1, after what happened last night?
Great game. All right, let's start with the winners, the Phoenix Suns. Man, I almost gave it up. They should feel like champions. That's what they should feel like. Yesterday, Dusty sent me this note, put it on my desk, and he said, Brandon, 74 NBA final games. 53 of them of the Game 1 winners, they went on to win the championship. So we're talking about 72% chance for the Phoenix Suns to win it. So they should feel like champions. They looked phenomenal last night. They look exactly like they've been looking and playing all year long. A complete team, a balanced team. CP3 just getting everybody in position, and he was also aggressive, so they should feel like champions. On the other side, you got Giannis. They should feel good. They really should, because when you look at Giannis, I was one of those guys yesterday. I wasn't high on him playing. I wasn't high on him, you know, coming back in Game 1 and actually impacting the game. But the dude had 17 boards. Now, you know he wasn't fully healthy because you didn't see that little signature get to the top of the free throw line, then do the little spin move and get to the basket. That's when you know he's at full strength. For him to say, you know, oh, I don't feel any pain, I don't believe that, but I do believe he feels better than expected. The dude had 17 boards. The dude was all over the place, so they should feel good. But at the end of the day, they know they're going against the better team. They know that CP3 isn't letting up, so they got to do everything they can to get going. They need to get other guys involved. Middleton, he needs to do more. He had a great game, 29 points, but we need to see a little bit more on Drew Holiday. Maybe they take Drew Holiday, they put him on CP3 a little bit more. This dude is a three-time All-NBA defensive player, so they need to do a little bit more on the defensive side, but I don't see it happening Game 2, Game 3, Game 4, Game 5. 5, and they're out of there, Nick.
So I would be shocked if this thing ends in 5. I know that was your pick yesterday, but especially with what we saw from Giannis, I'd be shocked by that. I want to start with Phoenix. Listen, Phoenix should feel really good. They did what they've done in every series, which is take control of the series by winning Game 1. Game 1 has been, in these series, when Phoenix has been the best. And because scoring explosion Chris Paul is a relatively new phenomenon. If you take the regular season of his last year in Houston, his 1 year in Oklahoma City, and this year in Phoenix, the last 3 regular seasons, he has 3 games where he scores 32 or more. He has scored 32 or more in 3 of his last 6 playoff games. He did it to close out Denver, he did it to close out the Clippers, and he did it last night in his first ever NBA Finals games. So if all of a sudden Chris Paul, the point god, is going to go from being a 19-point-a-game guy to a 33-point-a-game guy, then yes, the Suns will win the title. I don't think he's going to average that for the series. So as good as Phoenix should feel, I actually think Milwaukee should feel better. Because you look at this game and you say, okay, in the first half and really throughout the game, we got a tough whistle. Nobody went to the foul line to speak of at all other than Giannis. We also in the first half missed 8 shots in the restricted area, not in the paint, in that little semicircle down there. Brook Lopez missed a few, Giannis missed 1, PJ Tucker missed some. So they had, in the first half, hey, what's that? In the first half, they could have been in better shape than they were. But the biggest reason that Milwaukee, I think, should feel better, and this is where I think Wildes is going to agree, and I think Brandon agrees to a degree, is nobody thought Giannis was going to look that good this early. I said yesterday, I thought there was a chance he might miss the series, and that I was hoping he would be back by game 3. The fact that he was, and I know there's some like speculation, should they have given him more time? Wildes, I'm of the belief that his first game back, whenever it was going to potentially be his worst game. That he was going to have to knock off some of the rust, that he was going to have to get his wind back to him. And when you're Milwaukee and you're like, Giannis played 35 minutes. In a game we got not blown out, but beat pretty soundly in, we actually outscored Phoenix when Giannis was on the court. We got crushed in the 13 minutes he sat. Giannis is now going to be able to play. They play on Thursday, and then the next 5 games, there's 2 days of rest between them. So I think Milwaukee says, we've been down 0-1 in 2 of our 3 series. Yep. We didn't know Giannis would be back. We know what we need to fix. I think Milwaukee leaves this as good as a team can feel about being down 0-1.
Yeah, I buy that. The question mark for me, Nick, is Drew Holiday. Because remember, Barkley came out and said, you know what? Giannis missing some games has unlocked Drew Holiday at 27 and 25 against the Hawks. He shot the ball 20 times. Well, last night he went back into sort of like the escape room. He was locked in there because we didn't really see the Drew Holiday that we were expecting from the Hawks series. He had 14 points. He only shot the ball 14 times. He had 10 points. And I want to show you 2 plays, Nick. Give me your reaction. The first play is the Drew Holiday that I think we want less of. This is Drew at a 3-point line, passing up a shot, and then getting a turnover. Now, are those 2 things connected? I like to draw causality whenever I can. I'm going to say yes, that if you're starting to play timid from your shooting game, you start to play timid all around. Now, here is in the 4th quarter where Drew Holiday is like, you know what? I'm going to be the aggressive Drew Holiday. Look at this play. This is like, I'm going to score no matter what. I want more of the second play, Drew Holiday. If he can get to the bucket, get to the line, he can hit some free throws, unlike half the other guys on the squad. So I'm rooting for that Drew Holiday. I think we need that Drew Holiday to show up, not the one that's going to be passive and has single-digit games. That's the biggest question mark. Look, Middleton goes up and down, but Drew just needs to get involved in the game. At least just shoot. Like when you see him have these low games, Nick, he doesn't shoot the ball 20 times and he'll miss 12. He'll end up having 14 shots, 11 shots, 15 shots. You got to get him in rhythm to the point where, like, I tweeted it last night. They came out of a timeout like, get this ball to Drew. Like, it's odd because he's supposed to be the facilitator. So he actually, like, Bud needs to be like, buddy, the next 3 plays are yours. If you see somebody open, sure, but I want you to be more aggressive. I think that's the key to unlock him and make the Bucks reach their potential.
And I agree with you that the Bucks are obviously at their best when Drew plays well. I don't know if we can show that first play again or show that sequence again. I can explain what I think happened here. I didn't know Wildes was going to show these, but I think it's really smart. That's not a bad play to go off the line because you get Booker in the air. He just doesn't complete it. The reason he's aggressive on the second one is because Cam Johnson's on him. And when you hear the broadcast say Cam Johnson was the best shooter in the draft, but everyone was surprised he went 11th in the draft, and it's like, well, wait, hold on. If he was the best shooter and people didn't think he'd be drafted that high, why? Because you can attack him on defense. Drew is thinking too much. I think it's to your point, Wilds. He's diagnosing everything as opposed to playing with the feel, like just going.
My problem,
but yes, they need Drew to play better. And Brandon, what the counter to that is, if you don't think Drew is going to be excellent offensively, then you need to tell him, then we need 42 minutes of superb defense on Chris Paul. Like, we will take care of the scoring. We need you to exert all your energy defensively. Last night, they kind of got the worst of both worlds from Drew. He wasn't good offensively, and Chris Paul was phenomenal.
Yeah, well, we talked about it yesterday. Sir Charles talked about it, last week, Friday, and everybody crushed him on it, where he's like, look, they may be better without Giannis. Not saying they're a better team, but what he's saying is when you take out the best player on your team, it forces everybody to step up. He's not the number 2 guy. Chris Middleton is the number 2 guy. So now you're asking Drew Holiday to try to find his way and be more aggressive. It's almost impossible. It won't happen. So, Wilds, I know it makes sense. We would love to see Drew Holiday take his game to a whole nother level, but Giannis is now back, who's a ball-dominant guy, and now these guys got to find their way back in, Jenna. So I just don't see it happening on Drew Holiday. And to Nick's point, he just needs to focus on defense.
All right, Giannis was back last night. Phoenix, though, did take game 1. Much more in this game still to come. Back talking the block heard around the valley was Giannis's chase down, the best block in finals history. I wonder what Nick has to say.
What?
First things first. Back after this.
I'm going to quit.
You go.
If that's the real question.
You're Tom Brady, and you're counting.
Okay,
time for drawing a blank.
You can't talk good about Tom and then crush him. A minute later.
No, I did not. Both of them were negative things about Tom. But let's not nitpick. Drawing a blank, sponsored by Hanes. Perfect separation and support. The new Comfort Flex Fit Total Support Pouch from Hanes. Check out Giannis just before halftime with the superhuman chase down block on Mikal Bridges. That is big stuff right there. Brandon, Giannis's chase down block was blank.
Look, it's impressive, but they should feel relieved. I think all of us was tuned into this game and we were watching Giannis's every move. I was personally waiting for that signature, get in the paint, do the spin move, then get to the basket. Because to me, when I see that, then I'm like, okay, this dude has unlimited range and he can do whatever he wants. This was that play where I was like, we're going to see if he's 100% or if he's okay. And when he did it and came down, I was relieved, and I felt like everybody else was, because this was super aggressive. I felt like it was a bit too aggressive in game 1, but I'm so glad that he's okay. The dude had, 17 boards? What do I call him, Nick? Kevin? What do I call him? Greek the Freak? Did I get that right?
Greek the Freak.
Greek the Freak.
Greek the Freak.
Yeah, Greek the Freak.
Yeah, exactly right.
No, don't teach him the wrong way. It's just the Greek Freak.
I like
Greek the Freak.
I like Brandon's more.
Yeah.
No, it works. It totally works. Okay, I need to talk to America right now. Look, honesty is the bedrock of this show and this show's success. And whenever you hear me talking or see me talking, I will be 100% honest with you, and I'm about to be right now as well.
I agree.
That's good.
I am honestly going to take a heel turn sometimes, because sometimes I'm dishonest for the sake of the show. Because part of my role is to, what you say, stir the pot. I like to stir it up. So I'm honestly telling you, I'm about to have a heel turn. When I turn back. You know, when I saw this play, my answer is Giannis-esque. It's Giannis-esque because for me, when you describe LeBron's block, I think you should describe LeBron's block as Giannis-esque. This is probably the greatest block I've ever seen in a finals game. Just the pure athleticism, the storytelling of it. Like, wow, is his knee back? Oh, yeah. Starts farther away, jumps further. So there you go. I think I would describe this as Giannis. Oh, there's the Giannis-esque block there. So there you go. That's a heel turn. We honestly stirring the pot, stirring him up because he can't resist. Even he knows that I'm stirring the pot and he's still fired up. It's Giannis-esque. Nick, what do you think? It's great.
It is
block.
further out. Yeah, that's impressive.
All right, well now just remove my answer. Don't even pop my answer on the bottom because I'm not going to give my answer now. I just have to respond. Once again, I think Wilds has a bet with one of his kids or one of his golfing buddies that every week he can say something dumber than the previous. And they're like, oh my God, I don't know how you're going to be able to top it, Wilds.
More
Last
outlandish,
week, he said
maybe.
something really stupid. What was the thing I said it was the worst take I've ever heard? He's like, no, I can beat it by Wednesday. How about this? I'm going to compare a mid-third quarter block in game one of the finals of a game a team is losing by double digits to the greatest defensive play in NBA history. Can you guys, or I'm sorry, late second quarter, I should say. Can you guys see at the very bottom? I know it's in small, but the time score, yeah, Havlicek steals the ball. That's the more famous of the Celtics ones. You dope. You should know that. Yeah, Havlicek, Bird, whatever. They're only separated by 30 years. Get it together. By the way, this is a bigger error than confusing Havlicek steals the ball for Bird steals the ball. This right there. It's a minute 50 left in an 89-89 game 7 of the finals where a guy is trying to serve on his birthright of winning a championship. The other is a great play. Giannis's is a great play. Do not compare it. Don't when your wonderful son Russ or Billy bring home a nice little portrait of your wife. Don't say, you know what? Mona Lisa.
Brandon, get in here.
It's a nice play. It's enough. What up, Brandon?
Get in here, Brandon.
Quick question. Wilds, do you play golf? Like Nick said something about golf. You play golf?
No, I don't play golf.
As a golfer.
I don't play golf. I don't wear this outfit 23 hours of the day. 22. Sorry, the show's 2 hours. I play golf.
Well, finally you pulled it, Jenna. Time for a little weird and wonderful. Giancarlo Stanton doing what he does best, smashing baseballs. 5th home run this season with an exit velocity of 115
We just did weird and wonderful. Jenna?
Also velocity. We did? Weird. Oh, with the chase down. That's tied for the most with Shohei Ohtani. How about that? Pretty wonderful. Wilds, what else you got for us? Save us.
Oh, we're going to head to AA ball. Wichita Wind Surge versus Northwest Arkansas Naturals. This highlight courtesy of Twitter user Lucas CA for foul ball. Pitcher is Austin Cox. Batter MG Melendez. I had never seen this before. The ball goes straight into home plate. The catcher thinks it's in the air. Nope, opposite, buddy. Now, question is this just a funny play or a glitch in the vat of neon green ooze that our disembodied consciousness resides in as futuristic robots paint our air quotes reality? You decide. Moving on to the wonderful White Sox Twins, bottom of the ninth. In the rain, shot to center field. Billy Hamilton, full extension and mud bath. It's a great job. Sox win 4-1. Also sent my son Billy an autograph. That's why he's my favorite player. And finally, the weird National Padres, top of the second.
Oh, that's nice.
Gomes drops one into left field corner. Castro trying to score from first. Look at this. Watch Tatis here. Tatis unloads this relay throw. 96 mile per hour. The fastest infield throw of the year.
Wow.
Padres win 6-4, and that's the weird and the wonderful from the national pastime. Jenna,
is Tatis the best athlete alive right now? How good
He's amazing.
Tatis?
He might be
2 days in a row.
And so fun to watch. My goodness. Back to the NBA Finals. Bunch of scrubs here. None of these guys are Tatis.
Okay,
Giannis
guys. Okay,
back in the lineup,
all right.
CP3 was the shining star.
You know who's
Hey, who was more crucial to the rest of the series?
Go out to LA, the Dodgers.
Giannis or CP3?
Mookie!
But wait,
Let's
first,
go,
check
Mookie.
out Devin Booker.
Talking about Tatis.
Talking some CP3 after game 1. That worked.
Anybody that counted Chris Paul out, I mean, we just went down his track record of, he's walking in the Hall of Fame, first ballot. So you can't ever count any guy out that has done the things that he's done on the court. So, if I hear things like that, which I did, I take it as complete nonsense. If he doesn't play another game for us, you can still pay him his contract. His effect's that big. You know what I'm saying? So he moves his team. He leads his team daily. And just having him in the locker room, I'm not even talking about anything he does on the court, takes the team to that next level.
First Things First is sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
Back here talking game one of the NBA Finals last night, Bucks and Suns. Chris Paul, undeniably the most important player on the floor and the shortest, but that's not important now. He was just a menace offensively. Meanwhile, for Giannis, we weren't even sure the guy was going to play. Not only did he play, the two-time MVP finished with 20 and 17. But the Bucks needed more from him, from the rest of the team. Nick, which one of these stars will dictate the outcome of the series more, CP3 or Giannis Antetokounmpo?
Well, it's certainly, you can make an argument for both. It's definitely Giannis through the first 3.5 quarters of games, and you could argue it'll definitely be Chris Paul at the end of close games, because that is where he has excelled throughout his entire career, and that is where, even to this day, as Giannis is on the precipice of his first championship, pardon me, where the Bucks tend to go away from him and go more to Middleton. But I think overall, the answer is Giannis, because the Suns in the regular season had no answer for Giannis. And even last night, you saw Giannis in his first game in over a week dealing with, and I can't believe he was out there. The more I think about it, it looked like Giannis, and he said it after the game, I thought I was done for a year. The fact that he was out there doing that, having the chase down block in transition that he had, damn near a 20-20 game, it's like bionic man type of stuff. But the reason I'm going to say Giannis is going to be more crucial, Brandon, is because we have seen the Suns throughout the year. They can win games when Chris Paul scores in single digits, because Booker can explode and because of the player Ayton's turning into. And I think their overall supporting cast, guys 4 through 9, are better. Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, those guys are better than the Bucks supporting cast. The way for the Bucks to win the series is for Giannis to be 30 and 15 consistently throughout the series. So I think the answer is clearly Giannis, even if at the end of close games, it's going to lean towards Chris Paul.
Right. And I want to go back to your Giannis point as far as surprised that he was out there. Yesterday, talking about this, I think I was coming from a 37-year-old mindset and looking at how I feel today. But when I was 25 and I was 26, I would have the freakish type accidents on the field or injuries, and I would bounce back like that. You even saw LeBron James do that year after year after year. You see so many players have these type of plays and these injuries, and they're back up a play later or maybe the next game. So, Giannis, the bionic man, unbelievable. And not only to be out there, Nick, but 17 boards. I mean, that says a lot. And he was super aggressive, getting to the paint and doing other things. But the answer is CP3. And the reasons why I CP3, and I can go through his stats first, but but before I go through his stats, it's more so his impact on everyone else. You heard Devin Booker after the game talk about this dude doesn't even have to be on the court to impact the game. Think about what he's done for Ayton, and we talked about that. Think about what he's done for Booker. He reminds me of Peyton. Man, I love doing, basketball and football comparisons. If I had to compare him to a player in the NFL or all-time great, it would have to be Peyton Manning. I remember once I called Elvis Dumervil up when he was still with the Denver Broncos. I said, buddy, tell me about Peyton Manning. Like, everybody keeps saying like his work ethic and his approach to practice is next level. And he said, Brandon, this dude runs the whole show. We went out to practice one day. He had the script, Coach tried to go through the practice. He took the script out of coach's hand, ripped it up, said, let's start practice again. That is CP3. CP3 makes everyone better. And sometimes it can be a bit uncomfortable. But with the right situation, and Nick, you said it's this generation that's really taken to his leadership. And within this situation, now people are really appreciating his leadership style. But when you got other guys with egos and trying to compete with you in the locker room, it makes it hard. These guys know Chris Paul is just different. Chris Paul is married, got kids. He's not going to be out partying with you. He's about one thing. He's about his business. And you better be about the same thing when you walk in that locker room. But wow, think about this, all right? CP3's last 2 games, and keep in mind that he's doing it with a partially torn ligaments in the shooting hand. 36 points per game, 8 assists per game, 65% from the field, 73% from the 3, and only 2 turnovers. This dude is the man when you talk about what he's doing for this team.
Totally
and he
agree.
impacts the game more than anybody I've seen all year.
Yeah, and to Nick's point, he only averaged 9 points against the Lakers, and they still won. So you can see that he affects the game in a lot of different ways. And Nick, I don't know if you remember this, and I put the producers in a bad spot because I didn't call for this. But there was a point in the second half where Cam Payne started to get hot. I think he hit back-to-back shots.
Yeah.
And Chris gets the ball out of bounds. And Chris just throws it across court like a little lie. He's like, go ahead, do your thing. Look, he let Cam Payne bring it up, and Cam Payne ended up missing a 3. I said, that is a fascinating play. Because he was just like, this is you. You earned this shot. I'm CP3. I might be finals MVP. I'm a legend. Just do your thing. And I think sometimes we talk about, like, his aggressive leadership, his getting it, in your face, his taking you to getting Ayton to the next level. I thought that was a good example of just almost like a passive leadership, a confident leadership of allowing Cam Payne to get confidence, even if he misses the shot. It's proving that he believes in it.
Because he does it
so
at
I know
the
we say a lot
expense
like,
of his
it
own
doesn't
stats.
show up on the. Yeah, well, it doesn't show up
That's
on
right,
the
Jenna.
stat sheet, but that literally doesn't show up on the stat sheet. That's just infusing a guy with confidence. So I think the answer has got to be CP3.
And listen, Broussard will be on in an hour, and I'll save the MVP stuff for when he's here with us, because to me, this is another great validation of that you can't just look at the stats. You have to look at the overall impact.
That's good.
Yep.
But I want to respond to what Wild said, because during I think this is the sequence Wild is talking about. He and I didn't discuss this before the show. Cam Payne scored 5 in a row for Phoenix while Milwaukee was trying to cut it down. Milwaukee ended up cutting it to 8, but it would have been 3 if not for Cam Payne's 2 tough buckets that he made. It was when they were down from 18, and it's like, they've got it to 12, and then they cut it to 10, then Cam Payne hit a bucket. Then Milwaukee comes down, hits a 3 to cut it
to the side.
Right. Exactly right. Cuts it to 9, and then Cam Payne hits a 3 of his own. And it's like, okay, Cam Payne gave him right. He has such a weird hitch in his shot, but he's been playing great.
You're right,
but
right.
I totally agree that so much of that is Chris Paul. And I know I keep going back to the Isaiah Thomas comp, but it is so valuable in this instance. And I understand he does TV, sometimes with us and elsewhere, but people need to listen to what Isaiah Thomas says about what it is to be a point guard. And even if you're not in sports, it is to Brandon's point about Peyton Manning, but if you could take it to any industry. The best leaders are people that understand what I need to do to get the most out of you. And whether it's television producer or a boss of your sales team, it's understanding that the same buttons I push for Brandon, I can't push for Wilds, I can't push for Jenna, I can't push for Nick. Right. Understanding what you do best, how I can pull that out of you through either encouragement, feeding you the ball, being hard on you. And Chris Paul is a savant at that. He's one of the best in league history at that. And so that is such an important part of what he does, Brandon.
Yeah, but the hardest part is doing it every single day. That's what happens. When you walk in that locker room, guys are going to be looking at you. Is this the day where he takes his foot off the gas? And CP3 has been doing it for, 16 years? Every single game? Like, the dude comes in, is at one level. Really quickly, Jenna, before we go to the next thing, I was thinking about campaigns flicked it form. Wilds keep talking about he plays basketball. Wilds, you know a hooper when you see him. You don't need to have a ball in your hand. Can I see the form real quick before we go? Let me see the form.
Just like
you keep talking about this.
It used to be.
Group.
It used to be more beautiful. It's honestly, it's pure Bill Cartwright. It's pure Bill Cartwright. I can bring the ball over here like this. And it's a Bill Cartwright, Joakim Noah thing. Works though.
That's why he's a Joakim Noah fan. That's great.
Right.
Hey, let's move this conversation forward to Game 2. Are the Bucks already in a must-win situation? We'll ask these guys next. But first, check out Tom Brady poking fun at Aaron Rodgers in this recently released clip, Jeopardy style. Take a listen.
He's an NBA owner, a self-taught guitarist, and has guest starred in both The Office and Game of Thrones.
He's unhappy with his boss and has no options. Who is Aaron Rodgers?
Ding, ding, that is correct. Well done.
That's a projection, Tom. I never said I'm unhappy with my boss.
I said it, not you.
We are back here with NBA champ Antoine Walker. Antoine, good morning. We're continuing to break down Game 1 of the finals last night. It was an offensive explosion from Chris Paul, the veteran point guard, with 32 points, including 16 in a dazzling third quarter. Very fancy. Giannis returned from his knee injury. He had 20 and 17, but the Bucks dropping Game 1 for the third straight series. Antoine, what adjustments does Milwaukee have to make now to win Game 2?
Unfortunately, they have to make a lot of adjustments when you think about if they want to win this series. And I still believe they have a very good chance and believe they are going to win the series. But one, and I think people are going to probably think I'm crazy because you've seen Brook Lopez make several threes last night, and it looks really good. But they're going to have to probably place Giannis at the 5 position for them to have an opportunity to win this series. You're going to have to play him at 5 because obviously Phoenix is going to put you in a ton of pick and rolls and look for mismatches. But when you're going to be a switching team and switch as much as the Bucks do, you have to have a guy at the 5 position that can defend. And this is where Giannis comes in and can be very special. The other adjustment is on the offensive end, they have to take a step back. And I know this is very tough. When Giannis comes back into the lineup, and I know it's probably a surprise for most of those guys that he was going to come back and play, he has to be the third option. Chris Middleton has to be the first option. Holiday has to be the second option. And Giannis has to be the third. And what I mean by him being the third, he has to be the guy setting the pick and rolls. You can't come up and set pick and rolls for him. It's a different series for him. You talked about it, Brandon, last week, and I watched you talked about his injury. I never had the type of injury that he had, but I listened to you and understood where he was coming from. He's not going to be able to break guys off the dribble the way he wants to. Anybody who watches Giannis, he's great off the dribble. He can get to the basket, and he finishes with the best of them. Those opportunities are probably not going to be there with his injury. So in order to hide that, because you want him on the floor, you want him setting the pick and rolls, rolling to the bucket. It looked like he still has a lot of athletic ability to finish around the basket. So you have to change your mindset. You still want him to be aggressive, but let's get Middleton being the Batman, Holiday being the Robin, and then Giannis steps in. So you change your approach to this and approach to the game the way that the Milwaukee Bucks play. Those two things are very key. You can't play Lopez long. You got to play Giannis at the 5, and then he has to be your third option on the offensive end. So now you have to rely on the Brett Forbes. You have to rely on the Jeff Teagues, the Collingtons, those guys to play bigger minutes and be productive because you're going to have to play smaller to keep up with a faster Phoenix Suns team.
All right, so I want to dig into that real quick, Antoine, and I want to throw it back to you because I want to focus on the playing small thing because that is exactly what I wrote down for my notes of what I think Milwaukee can take out of this game is the Giannis at the 5 lineup gave Phoenix real problems. And you, by the way, Ty Lue, his impact is still kind of being felt in these playoffs because you saw the Clippers when they were trying to claw back in their series against Phoenix when Zubats went out and they had to play super small. Even though Kawhi wasn't out there, they gave Phoenix a little bit of trouble with the small lineup. But Milwaukee can play small and still be tall because Giannis is damn near 7 feet. Bobby Portis is a part of the small lineup. He's a tall guy. Middleton's obviously a tall guy. My question to you is, because Milwaukee's issue last night was defense. The reason that was the worst defensive game they've played this postseason, aside from Game 2 against Brooklyn, and they were a great defensive team all regular season. They've been the best defense in the postseason. With Giannis not at 100%, even though he's far better than any of us thought he would be by Game 1, do you think a small lineup with Pat Connaughton on the court, with Bobby Portis on the court, with maybe Bryn Forbes on the court, do you think that lineup can defend if Giannis isn't 100% on the defensive side of the ball, flying around protecting the rim?
Yes, I believe they can get it done because Giannis is so athletic and so long. And obviously he showed that a couple of times throughout that game last night, even though they was down, obviously in transition with a tremendous block. But I just think in the half court, he makes it very difficult for you to finish over. Where Brook Lopez, who's not a terrible defender, but he's not the same athletic player that Giannis is. So if you got Giannis in the middle and they got to beat him down and Aiden's in the game, he can guard Aiden and step up and make it very difficult for a lot of guys to finish over him. The Phoenix Suns in the first half, or even through the first 3.5 quarters, they got their cake and eat it too. They was getting to the basket when they want to. They were getting to their sweet spots as far as Chris Paul and Devin Booker with their jump shots. You got to take one away. And the Bucks have to make those adjustments. And that's what Budenholzer has to be as a veteran coach. You got to make those adjustments. And this is Game 1 is always a fill-out game. But I want to see that in Game 2 if they want to win the series. The Phoenix Suns is very good, and they have a very good floor general who's going to get the ball to the right person and take advantage of mismatches. So you got to be on one accord. And you got to believe that Giannis is behind you, is going to help you. And he's going to make guys force him into that. Use his length and athletic ability, even though he's not 100%, to make it difficult for him.
Okay. 1996 NCAA champion. 10 years later, you go on and win the NBA championship. You were a champion 2006, Miami Heat. So Antoine Walker, the great, following me, watching me, talking about, Brandon, I heard what you said about Giannis and his knee. I get where you was coming from. Oh, my God. Bro, you got me over here blushing. You see my cheeks. Antoine Walker following me. Listen, that was great. That was one of the greatest moments on TV for me. But no, listen, the only adjustment I see, it comes down to Jrue Holiday. That's what it is, man. Jrue Holiday, wow, it's like he's the Chris Bosh on this team. He's the Kevin Love on this team. There's that guy that has to sacrifice. Yeah, we're trying to force this big three thing, but on the offensive end, it's just not clicking. It hasn't clicked consistently all year. So, Nick, you talked about this earlier. You need to sit down with Jrue Holiday and say, look, we know you can go for 30 on any given night, but it's not consistent enough for us, and it just throws everything off. I just need to put you on CP3, and I want you to harass him all night because of the impact that he has, on the game. Not only what he's doing the last 2 games, averaging 35 points or whatever it is, 8 assists, only 2 turnovers, but how he get others in the game. So, Wilds, I think that's the move here is you sit Jrue Holiday down and say, look, we understand you're trying to find your way on the offensive end, but we don't need it. It's messing up what we're trying to do. Let's go on the defensive side and harass CP3.
See, I want to go the other way. I think he can do both. I don't think it's an either or necessarily, but I want to see Jrue Holiday at full offensive spin moves getting to the hoop. Antoine, I've got a theory for you, and tell me if this holds water or not. You know when teams go on a run, and it's like you can either call a timeout or you can just drive to the bucket and get a foul, make your free throws, and that just kind of like it takes so long, it kind of just relaxes the team and sort of stops the run, and you get free points. It feels to me when I'm watching this game, the Bucks almost have the opposite problem. that when they get fouled, or Giannis specifically gets fouled, the fans start going crazy. He misses his shots. It like energizes the entire arena. Meanwhile, the Bucks are like, oh God, these are free points that we're losing, we're just giving away. Meanwhile, Phoenix shoots 25 for 26 from the line. They're the best free throw shooting team in the history of the NBA playoffs. So to me, in an odd turn of events, I think the Bucks missing their free throws is giving Phoenix energy, and maybe it's the count, maybe it's the home crowd, but do you see this free throw discrepancy being as big a factor as I think it is?
It definitely could be. I don't disagree with you. I think it's a great point to point out. I wouldn't, after one game, hold my hat on that just completely. And I think Giannis, and we saw Giannis figured out in the Atlanta series, and he wasn't horrible last night. I think he went 6 out of 10, something like that. But you're going to get that from Giannis. I think one thing about the Bucks, they understand what they're up against. They understand that Giannis is not a great free throw shooter, and I think that usually only comes with him. But it can be a difference. This is a series that I have it going seven games. It's going to be very tough. I think last night the margin of victory was a little lopsided, but I believe these games are going to come down to the wire, and they could come down to free throw shoot. So it could be a little deflating if he's your one option. But remember what I said in the beginning. Giannis cannot be your one option. It's not because he's not good enough or he's not been great the last 3 out of 4 years. He's 2-time MVP. He's got an injury that he's dealing with. I want to go to Chris Middleton, a guy who's in a great rhythm, who just came off a great Eastern Conference Finals. I want to get him and play off him. The reason why Chris Middleton didn't complete his game last night, I thought it was moments in the game where he just took off because Giannis was trying to get himself going or Holiday was trying to get himself going. This is the finals. I played with D-Wade. I'm going to reiterate this. D-Wade averaged 35 points a night. We rode that coattail. Ride Chris Middleton coattail. He has the ability to get you 35 a night. It's nothing wrong with that. Ride that coattail, and it may ride you to a title. He's that gifted. He's that good. And it's his coming out party.
And on the free throw thing, Wilds, the other adjustment the Bucks can make is get a better whistle. I mean, last night, Giannis went to the line 12 times. Other than that, Drew Holiday got one shooting foul. Brook Lopez got one shooting foul. That was it. The Suns got this isn't why they lost, but that was a favorable whistle to Phoenix. That when one team is the best free throw shooting team arguably ever, that's going to help them greatly. When Chris Middleton shoots 0 free throws, when no one but Giannis goes to the line more than one time, it's tough to overcome that. And so I do think they'll get a better whistle moving forward in the series, Jenna.
Of course, I spent the first half of what Nick said thinking about how you can improve the whistle. How can you get it? Suns got the win last night. That's great. But should they be nervous after seeing Giannis return to the floor? We'll discuss that next. First things first on a Wednesday morning. Is it louder? Are we looking for July 13th? Judge, Tatis, Ohtani, and all of baseball's finest face off in a mile-high midsummer slugfest from Coors Field out in Denver. It's the 2021 MLB All-Star Game presented by MasterCard, July 13th. Only on Fox.
Tatis.
Back breaking down Tatis, greatest athlete of all time across all the sports. Breaking down Game 1 of the NBA Finals. It was an offensive explosion from Chris Paul. The veteran point guard had 32 points last night, including 16 in the third quarter. Giannis returned, didn't think he would. He was back out there, back from his knee injury. Gave you 20 points. It wasn't enough, though, as the Bucks dropped Game 1 for the third straight series. Nick, what adjustments does Milwaukee have to make now if they want to go ahead and try to win Game 2?
All right, so there's a number of things that I think are pretty straightforward. One is they've got to consider playing the Giannis at the 5 lineup more. Now, that's a little easier said than done because you're like, all right, Giannis at the 5, that means Brook Lopez is off the court. It almost assuredly also means PJ Tucker's off the court. So now who's our 5-man lineup going to be? Giannis, Middleton, Drew, no problem. Pat Connaughton, all right, good. And then that 5th spot, Bobby Portis or Bryn Forbes, both of them are going to be massive liabilities on the defensive side of the ball, and that's actually where Milwaukee lost the game yesterday, was the defensive side of the ball. So it's not like it's an easy fix or a fix that doesn't have any negative repercussions associated with it, but I don't think that you can just trot out your typical starting lineup for huge minutes in this series for a couple of reasons. One is Brook Lopez is going to struggle in this series no matter how they decide to defend the pick and roll, whether they switch or whether they drop. And I don't know if this is a PJ Tucker series. Unless they are going to tell PJ, treat Devin Booker the way you treated Kevin Durant. You're just going to guard him. You're going to get extra physical with him. We'll see what the refs are going to let you do. If that's not what PJ Tucker's doing, then he doesn't have a ton of use for you, because obviously he's not even a good offensive player. He's there for his toughness and his defense. And last night, I didn't understand exactly how they were trying to use him. I knew how they wanted to use him against the Nets. I didn't understand how they were trying to use him against the Suns. The other thing, Brandon, that I think is an easy adjustment is they'll play Giannis more. Giannis played 35 minutes last night, which was more than I expected him to play. But as the series goes on, that will ramp up.
It's impressive.
And they were +1 in his 35 minutes. They were -13 in the 14 minutes he sat. So I think that's an easy adjustment. And the other one is, and this, I'll leave it in this, Mike Budenholzer at his press conference today, Coach Bud, you make a lot of money. You're now guaranteed not to get fired, so you're going to keep making a lot of money. Earmark 50,000 of those dollars to a fine you're going to have to send to the league office after you lighten to the officials today. You need to go through the box score and be like, oh, I thought this was interesting. Chris Middleton took 0 free throws. In the first half of this basketball game, only Giannis took free throws for us. Meanwhile, Phoenix lived at the line. So I don't know, maybe look at that. So try to get the whistle more in your favor. Those are the adjustments that I would make.
Right. Well, look, let me try to keep this thing respectable and talk a little basketball. I don't see too many adjustments they can make. To me, it's over. You know, when you think about what they could potentially do, maybe take Drew. You sit Drew Holiday down and it's like, look, we've tried to force this thing on the offensive side. It's a little awkward at this point. You're a 3-time all defensive player. Let's focus on that. You know, someone has to make the sacrifice. Kevin Love made the sacrifice. Chris Bosh made the sacrifice. Although it was a small sample size, James Harden was making the sacrifice. He wasn't shooting as much. He was getting his guys involved. They only played 8 games together in the regular season, but we saw what the trend was going to be. So Drew Holiday, now you got this guy who at times can give you 30, but stop trying to force that. Let's put you on CP3 and you just frustrate the heck out of this guy from start to finish. That's maybe the only adjustment. But my gut says that this thing is over. You know, a lot of times our great coaches, our great players, they pull from history. Maybe we got to go back to the 1997 finals. What happened? You had the Bulls and you had the Jazz. We just saw, the documentary come out during the pandemic. What is it? The Last Dance with MJ.
Last Dance.
And MJ start talking about, I ordered some pizza and the pizza came and I felt like they put something in it. I got a little sick and it was the flu game. Nick, I know you pushed back on that story. You think something else happened. Yeah, right. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying poison him. I'm saying hold on. And then once you get back to Milwaukee, maybe you convince like Ian's Cream City Pizza to put a little something in their pizza just to slow them down a little bit. That's the only chance they have. Now, the people in Milwaukee, they're great people. Whilst they're great people. But that's the only chance they have. That's it. I mean, pull from history.
Brandon thinks it's over.
That's the only chance they have.
Brandon thinks the only thing they can do, Wilds, is felonious acts. Is just pure commit felonies.
Pull from history. Pull from history.
Go ahead, Wilds.
Pulling from history.
It's not going to be well received.
First of all, you can't get the flu from pizza. Okay. I disagree with you about 2 things. 1, I don't think you should poison the players. 2, I think that Drew Holiday actually needs to shoot a little bit more. We saw that when Giannis went out, Barkley was like, hey, we've unlocked the aggressive Drew Holiday at 27 and 25. Last night, we didn't see the aggressive Drew Holiday. We saw the kind of passive Drew Holiday. He had 14 shots. He had 10 points. And, Nick, I want to show you 2 plays here. First one is the non-aggressive Drew Holiday. And I know that Booker's like closing him out here, but like this is an open three if you take that right away. He's looking for other people, ends up getting a turnover. They get an easy bucket here. It's a killer. Now move to the other play, more aggressive Drew Holiday. No matter who's on you, Nick, I like to see this version. Just go in with reckless abandon. This is a nice Giannis spin move. I want to see more of that. If they don't fall, so be it. I want you to go down with shooting more than 14 shots. Go up there, shoot 20 shots. Let's get you in rhythm. The Bucks need the big three. The big two, and Giannis is still not 100%, will not beat Phoenix's big three. We need Drew Holiday to contribute not only defense, but also on the offensive side of the ball.
Well, here's what we know about Drew Holiday. He's not going to lose his confidence, and the moment's not going to be too big for him. I mean, he was having one of the worst games of his life in Game 7 against the Nets, and then he hit 3 massive shots late in that game to keep Milwaukee right there, to get them the lead in the final minute, and then they end up obviously winning in overtime. But I just believe Brandon is writing the Bucks obituary far too early. I do not know if Chris Paul, how many more 30-plus point games Chris Paul's going to have, and I would bet all the money I have that last night is the fewest points Giannis scores in any game in this series. Milwaukee lost game 1 of round 2. They lost game 1 of round 3. I think they're fine.
Listen, maybe I am doing a little too much talk. Don't poison the players, but please, it is over. Don't do that. Support Ian's Cream City Pizza.
Much more on this series. Coming up next on Undisputed. Nobody eat pizza.